They're always complaining in Jamaica that we have too many people.
Excellent Norman Manley. Norman Manley was born in Roxborough, Manchester, Jamaica on July 4, 1893. The parents Thomas Albert Samuel. Norman Manley was born in Roxborough, Manchester, Jamaica on July 4, 1893. The parents Thomas Albert Samuel Manley and the Margaret. His complete name is Norman Washington Manley. He was a really bright scholar and athlete, an excellent horseman, a soldier in the First World War, and a lawyer. Manley was enlisted in the British Army in 1914 and served in an artillery regiment, meaning he was a great marksman, gaining a military medal. Norman identified himself with the cause of the workers at the time of the labor troubles in 1938 and donated time and advocacy to the cause. To describe his personality, it could be safely said that he was physically attractive with athletic build, dignified bearing, sharp features, and piercing eyes. He was acknowledged as a profound thinker, articulate spokesman, brilliant advocate, and skillful negotiator. Manley was also widely acknowledged for his impeccable integrity and statesmanlike conduct. He has been described as a man of many parts and many accomplishments. Norman Manley's educational background includes studying at Jamaica College and overseas at Jesus College in Oxford, England. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He distinguished himself at Oxford and was called to the bar at Gray's Inn in 1921. There he gained the Certificate of Honor in the bar finals and copped the Lee Prizeman Award. In that same year, 1921, he married Edna Swettenbank. She died on February 10, 1987. He has two children, Douglas and Michael. Manley founded the People's National Party, the PNP, in September of 1938, and he was elected its president annually until he retired on his birthday due to illness on July 4, 1969, which was 31 years later. So this man born on July 4 and him retire on July 4. Okay, good point. Take notes. He is Jamaica's first and only premier, serving between the period of July 1959 and July 1962. We call him a premier because his leadership was before we gained independence in August 1962. However, we will acknowledge him as being one of Jamaica's prime ministers. His legacy includes sharing with his cousin Sir Alexander Bustamante the honor of being one of the two founding fathers of Jamaica's independence, attained peacefully on August 6, 1962. Manley and the PNP supported the trade union movement, which was then led by Sir Alexander Bustamante, while leading the demand for universal adult suffrage. When suffrage came, Manley had to wait 10 years and 2 terms before his party was elected to office. He was a strong advocate of the Federation of the West Indies, established in 1958. But when Sir Alexander Bustamante declared that the opposition Jamaica Labour Party would take Jamaica out of the Federation, Norman Manley, already renowned for his integrity and commitment to democracy, called a referendum, unprecedented in Jamaica, to let the people decide. Come say aye. Say aye to the camera. Yeah? Yeah. Manley, in his last public address to an annual conference of the PNP, said, I say that the mission of my generation was to win self-government for Jamaica, to win political power, which is the final power for the black masses of my country from which I spring. I am proud to stand here today and say to you who fought that fight with me, say it with gladness and pride, mission accomplished for my generation. And what is the mission of this generation? It is reconstructing the social and economic society and life of Jamaica. End quote. Norman Manley lived a full life and died on September 2, 1969, at the age of 76. He was named the National Hero of Jamaica later that same year. Upon being named the National Hero, his title would now read the Right Excellent Norman Washington Manley, MMQC BCL LLD.
Here with Deputy Premier Sangster of Jamaica.
The Most Honorable Donald Sangster, Jamaica's second Prime Minister. Donald Sangster was born on October 26, 1911 in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. The parents, W.B. Sangster and his wife Cassandra. His full name at birth was Donald Burns Sangster. Sangster attended Monroe College during the period 1921 to 1929, where he excelled in both academics and sports. He participated in such activities as cricket, athletics, boxing, and gymnastics. He was a well-rounded guy. Sir Donald was a serious, hard-working man and also every bit of a gentleman. He was much loved, much admired, and widely respected. Immediately after leaving school, Donald entered into legal apprenticeship to be a solicitor. He was later admitted to the practice in Jamaica in 1937. He was a member of numerous boards and committees representing the interests of farmers, Boy Scouts, educators, and sportsmen. He also attended several international conferences on behalf of the government. These were in countries such as New Zealand, England, Canada, and Barbados. Donald Sangster was a great social servant and good steward of financial resources. He was particularly loyal supporter of Sir Alexander Bustamante and a faithful deputy leader in the Jamaica Labour Party from 1949 to 1967. He served as Prime Minister of Jamaica during the period February 22, 1967 to April 11, 1967. He was the only Prime Minister to serve such a short term, and this was because of his sudden illness. Donald became involved in politics when he was 21 years old, and he served with dedication until sudden illness and death. 30 years later, he died on April 11, 1967 at the age of 51. He was never married and he never had any children. He was awarded with Jamaica's second highest honor posthumously, that's the Order of the Nation, so that is why he is today referred to as the Most Honorable Sir Donald Burns Sangster, ONKCVO. Yeah guys, so I decided to do this video in this format, so I could have get more time to talk to my subscribers and stuff like that, because talking that video them sometimes the video just go straight through. I'm gonna get time to talk to them, you know, to tell y'all thanks for support the channel and all of them things that, you know. So yeah, anyway, back to the video. Sir Alexander Bustamante. Now, Alexander Bustamante was Jamaica's first Prime Minister. As you notice, the one before was the second Prime Minister and the one before was the Premier. Reason for that is the time that they served, alright? Sir Alexander Bustamante was born on February 24, 1884 in a little district known as Blenheim in Hanover, Jamaica. His father was an Irish planter named Robert Constantine Clark, and his mother was a Jamaican of mixed blood named Mary Clark Nee Wilson. He was named William Alexander Clark, but was later to change his name by deed-poll. Bustamante was the second of 5 children of the Clark family. He had 3 sisters, Louise, Iris, and Maud, and a younger brother, Herbert. He also had 2 elder sisters, Ida and Daisy Clark, by a previous marriage of his father. His grandmother, Elsie Clark Shearer, was also the grandmother of Bustamante's great contemporary and fellow national hero, Norman Washington Manley. Bustamante's education started and stopped formally at elementary school at Cocoon and Dalmally. He also did private studies, otherwise known as homeschooling. In 1904, he was employed as a store clerk for C.E. Johnson and Company on the North Coast. Shortly after this, he became a junior overseer at Belmont. Sir Alexander Bustamante shares with his cousin Norman Washington Manley the honor of being one of the 2 founding fathers of Jamaica's independence, which was obtained peacefully on August 6, 1962. It was the same day, August 6, 1962, that he became Jamaica's first Prime Minister, and he went on to serve until February 27, 1967. Sir Alexander Bustamante's personality. He was physically impressive, standing at approximately 6 feet 5 inches, with gangling gait. A strong, wire body and shock of grey hair made him a sort of living legend to the masses whose cause he championed against the colonial powers. Bustamante was known for his terse and telling phrases that cut to the quick of things, and for remarkable stamina that made him work tirelessly all over the island. His works, though, were particularly at the waterfront and at the sugar estates where there were great concentrations of people. He tended to have a dictatorial style, marked nevertheless with sparkling magnanimity. Alright, I write it on screen. Guys, we're going to take a look now at some of Alexander Bustamante's famous quotes. In 1935, he said, "Be not afraid, do your duty towards your countrymen, towards humanity. They will thank you at least in silence. And at the right time, when the good Lord sees fit, he will bless you, even though you might not be aware of it." In 1938, "Without discipline, we cannot succeed, and with disorder, we will fail." That are true. That is so true. 1938 again. "I want the Standard to know that I represent the lower and middle class people in Jamaica. They have confidence in me." And the Standard it was a Jamaica newspaper called the Standard magazine. 1938 again. They, not I, should be very careful. I am above them, for while they want to live forever, I am prepared to die today. And this was in reference to two policemen who was trying to arrest him at the time. Alright. 1939, I have made up my mind to fight for the workers of this country. No longer are the workers afraid of bayonets, they are prepared to fight for their rights. Powerful words. 1947, that is my teaching, to respect all womankind. I've never heard anyone else say anything like that, because we have to respect females still. In 1961, I will be among the millions who will never die. I will just fade away. Impressive. 1962, let us resolve to work together under the law to build a Jamaica which will last and of which we, the generations to follow, may be proud. Sound like Shakespeare. 1962, so many of us forget that great asset which is known as humility. Those are powerful words. 1970, the youth of a nation are the trustees of posterity. So, with all of that, we'll take a look at the summary of Bustamante's life. Alright, I'll tell you another video with along. He was the pioneer, the founder of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union in 1938. He was also the founder of the popularly known Shower Party, that's the Jamaica Labour Party, that's in 1943. His work experience includes, but not limited to, a store clerk, a beekeeper, dairy farmer, junior estate overseer, trump car inspector, Wall Street speculator, moneylender, and a trade unionist. He got married to Gladys Longbridge, who was his secretary for years, on September 7, 1962. This was just about a month after Jamaica gained independence and he became the first prime minister of the island. They had no children together. His fulfilling life came to an end on August the 6th, 1977, at the age of 93. August the 6th, that's Independence Day. Okay. When news reached Kingston of the historic fatal clash between workers and armed police at Frome on May 2, 1938, William Alexander Bustamante closed his money lending business for the day and went by car to Frome with his secretary, Miss Gladys Longbridge. Bustamante felt destiny tugging at his sleeve, and he was ready to go where it led him. The tall 6 feet 5 inches and some physically strong, truculent, courageous, self-confident and stylish Bustamante had seen life in many lands and had returned home 4 years earlier at the age of 50 to settle. During the 4 years from 1934 to 1938, he had impressed his name on the society by a series of letters to the editor of the Gleaner and occasionally to the British newspapers, almost always calling attention to the social and economic problems of the poor and underprivileged in Jamaica. Between 1935 and 1936, he had conducted an anti-water meter protest. In January 1937, he had intervened in a strike at Surge Island Estate, offering his services as a mediator. Later that year, he had become treasurer of the Jamaica Workers and Tradesmen Union, founded in 1936 by A.G.S. Coombs. Bustamante and Coombs had traveled around the country promoting their union and giving up the struggling workers. By early 1938, our hero was sharing platforms in Kingston with St. William Grant, whose paramilitary uniform signified an earlier association with another hero, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. The workers needed a leader, and he was ready to lead. Blessed with the natural intelligence and wit, he had gained much wisdom over the years, particularly from his white travels. Most important, he was a born gladiator, a factor that not only suited his role as champion of the working classes, but also led him to his political career and largely determined the course of that career. Accounts of Bustamante's early life are many and varied, but a number of facts are clearly established. In April 1938, when attacked by the Jamaica Standard newspaper, Sir Alexander Bustamante told a crowd of 2,000 at North Parade that I want the Standard to know that I represent the lower and middle class people in Jamaica. They have confidence in me. End quote. Bustamante claimed that Britain, the mother country, was not aware of the state of affairs in Jamaica because she was badly informed or misinformed by Governor Denham. The Labour leader denounced Denham at a meeting of 7,000 at the parade on May 4. Sir Alexander Bustamante addressed a huge meeting at the corner of Yukon Harbour Streets. He said that what was taking place in Jamaica was a mental revolution. He and St. William Grant spoke at a number of rallies on that day. At one of them, when the security forces threatened to open fire in the crowd, Bustamante unbuttoned his shirt, thrust forward and invited the soldiers to leave the people alone and shoot him. Later in that day, at another rally, he and St. William Grant were arrested and charged with sedition. Sedition. Peace or behavior directed against the peace of a state. Sedition. Sedition. Speech or behavior directed against the peace of a state, an offense that tends to undermine the authority of a state, an incitement to public disorder. Okay. Alright. No bail was allowed. On May 27th, Norman Manley went to the waterfront to find out a first-hand account what the workers wanted so that he could take up representations on their behalf. The workers answered, "We want Bustamante." They would not return to work before his release, regardless of what other terms were offered. Manley joined a team of lawyers advocating the release of Bustamante and the grant, and on May 28 they were freed on bail. Later the charges were dropped. In 1955, the Queen conferred on Sir Alexander Bustamante the title of Knight Bachelor. In a general election on April 10, 1962, the JLP was returned to power with 26 of 45 seats in the House. Bustamante was appointed Premier. When Jamaica became independent on August 6, 1962, he was named the new nation's first Prime Minister. 1 month later, he married his private secretary, Miss Gladys Longbridge, on the day of his departure for his first Commonwealth Prime Ministers Conference. 2 years after taking office, Bustamante, now 80 years old, became ill. Donald Sangster was appointed acting Prime Minister. Bustamante never returned to active involvement in affairs of the state. He officially retired in 1967. After that, he was appointed a national hero, the only living one. He received visitors at the former Prime Minister's residence, the Jamaica House, at his Tucker Avenue residence in Kingston, and at his mountain cottage in Irish Town. Buster, or the Chief as he was affectionately called, received numerous honors from many countries. A life-size statue of him stands at South Parade, the scene of real-life dramas he dominated. His portrait appears on the Jamaica $1 bill. His birthplace is a national shrine, and even a suite bears his name. In addition, Newport West, East, and adjoining port areas were renamed the Bustamante Port in keeping with the national hero's long association with the labor movement. The Children's Hospital, which Sir Alexander had converted from an old army hospital, was renamed the Bustamante Hospital for Children. In 1979, a 30-foot monument in honor of Sir Alexander Bustamante was unveiled in the National Heroes Park. He was awarded the Order of National Hero, and so today he is referred to as the Right Excellent Sir Alexander Bustamante. His complete title, though, is the Right Excellent Sir William Alexander Bustamante, GBE, LLD, and HON. The man who, at 58 years old in 1938, said he was then prepared to die, battled on for nearly 40 more years. Finally, at the grand old age of 93, he lost that fight. And showing the precision of timing that was a feature of his life, he crossed the threshold on August 6, 1977. 15 years exactly after Jamaica's attainment of independence and his appointment as our first Prime Minister. The Most Honorable Hugh Shearer, Jamaica's third Prime Minister. Hugh Shearer was Jamaica's third Prime Minister. He was born on May 18, 1923 to parents James Shearer and Esther Lindo. His complete name was Hugh Lawson Shearer. His father was a World War I ex-serviceman and his mother was a dressmaker. He grew up in the little village of Marthabury, which is just outside of Falmouth, Trelawney, in Jamaica. He was a student at the Falmouth Primary School, where he excelled and was awarded with a parish scholarship to attend St. Simon's College. St. Simon's was a privately owned high school in Kingston. He graduated from St. Simon's in 1940. Mr. Shearer entered the workforce in a time when there was intense political and labor turmoil in Jamaica. This was mostly during the period from 1938 to 1944, where Sir Alexander Bustamante and Norman Manley were both engaged in the struggle to reshape and redefine the Jamaican society. Mr. Bustamante was the undisputed head of the labor movement and founder of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, the BITU. And Norman Manley was the head of the first organized political party known as the People's National Party. Hugh Shearer's work and achievements. Hugh Shearer was always interested in journalism, so he was taken on as a trainee journalist in the weekly publication called the Jamaica Worker. This was a newspaper of the BITU. He was asked to understudy the then editor, Mr. Lyndon G. Newland. After Mr. Newland moved up the ranks to becoming the General Secretary of the Union, Hugh continued working on the paper until he eventually became its editor. Mr. Shearer felt his efforts were not enough being only the editor of the newspaper, so he began to serve his apprenticeship as a trade unionist while he still was the editor of the paper. He took part in union organization and negotiations with employees in some of the most important labor disputes. He was with Bustamante and other union officers at the time. Hugh Shearer got his first taste of party politics during the 1944 elections when he campaigned for the Western Kingston constituency. This was the constituency that was held by Bustamante, where he was known as the Chief. The Jamaica Labour Party won that election and Mr. Shearer continued his work in the BITU. He was determined to continue his union work, and because of his enthusiasm and efforts he was appointed Assistant General Secretary of the Union in 1947. In that same year, he contested and won the Central St. Andrew seat on the Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation Council. Just a year after, in 1948, Hugh attended a Colonial Development and Welfare Trade Union scholarship course in Barbados. He tried again in the 1949 election to contest the seat for the Western Kingston Division and was defeated by Ken Hill of the PNP. He sat next to Bustamante in all important negotiations regarding trade union work, and in 1953 he was appointed Island Supervisor of the BITU. He was elected to a seat in the House of Representatives in 1955, where he sat on the opposition benches until the 1959 elections, where he lost his seat. A few more years passed and he was elected Vice President of the BITU in 1960. He was second only to Sir Bustamante, who was President General. Mr. Hugh Shearer was appointed to the Legislative Council after the JLP won the succeeded general elections. That was as a result of the 1961 referendum campaign. When the council was replaced by the Senate, Hugh was made leader of the government business and also a minister without portfolio. He was also appointed Deputy Chief of Mission for Jamaica at the United Nations General Assembly and figured in many crucial international issues. In the year 1963, he presented a proposal to the United Nations, which was accepted, to have the year 1968 be declared Human Rights Year. The 1967 election saw Mr. Shearer being successful in winning the Clarendon seat, which was formerly held by Mr. Bustamante before his retirement from active politics. When the new government was formed, he was appointed Minister of External Affairs in February 1967. That same year of 1967 was a year of fate for Hugh Shearer. He was chosen to be the next Prime Minister of Jamaica after Donald Sangster died. Shearer was sworn in on April 11, 1967. 2 short years after that, in 1969, Hugh Shearer was appointed by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as a member of the Privy Council of England. During the time that he was Prime Minister, Jamaica attained its highest ever gross domestic product per capita based on rapid growth in agriculture, mining, and tourism. This amounted at the time to the humongous figure of US $2,300. He was also the main instigator in starting a system of highways. The first one was the Kingston to Spanish Town Highway. He also had laid the plans for other bypass routes, which would remove bottlenecks from all major towns. After being successful in the 1972 elections, where he retained his parliamentary seat, Hugh Shearer was leader of the opposition until he decided to devote his energies full-time to the trade union movement in 1974. 3 years after settling in the Union, he became president of the BITU in 1977, and under his leadership, he built the BITU into the largest in the English-speaking Caribbean. Yet another general election was called on November 9, 1980, and following the victory of the JLP, Mr. Shearer was appointed Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He held this position until 1989, when the PNP won that election. He was conferred with the honor of the Order of Jamaica on May 23, 1990. He worked in his Southern Clarendon constituency until he eventually lost his seat in the 1993 general elections. This was when he retired from the active public life. Hugh Shearer was also awarded the Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, by Howard University in 1968 and the University of West Indies, UWI, in 1994. On October 21, 2002, he was conferred with the Order of the Nation as another Jamaica National Award. He would now be referred to as the Most Honorable Hugh Lawson Shearer, ON-OJ. Hugh Shearer died on July 5, 2004, leaving wife Denise Eldemire Shearer, sons Howard and Lance, and daughters Hope, Hilary, and Edda.
And I think this has been done by certain elements quite deliberately to cause a certain panic in the society, to give the impression that the government's not really in control.
Michael Manley, Jamaica's 4th Prime Minister. Michael Manley was born on December 10, 1924, to parents Norman Washington Manley and his wife Edna Manley. His full name at birth was Michael Norman Manley. I'm telling about them politicians and the people and them are from everybody related. Michael Manley was born on December 10, 1924, to parents Norman Washington Manley and his wife Edna Manley. His full name at birth was Michael Norman Manley. Michael studied at Jamaica College in 1935 to 1943 and overseas at the London School of Economics.
British Prime Minister David Cameron's failure to address the issue of reparations during his visit to Jamaica.
I was taught and inculcated with the habit that you possibly can for that which is most worthy and most rewarding.
Percival James Patterson, otherwise known as P.J. Patterson, Jamaica's sixth Prime Minister. P.J. Patterson is Jamaica's most successful politician at national level, breaking the third-term barrier. His style of leadership is not to rely on fiery rhetoric, but on fundamental principles of procedure. He has done more than any other political leader to date, to empower his associates and to structure a party committed to negotiate peace and settle differences through a reconciling process, rather than confrontation. His wide experience at national, regional, and international levels as a negotiator has served him well in office as Prime Minister. P.J. Patterson was born on April 10, 1935 on Russell Road in St. Andrew, Jamaica. The parents Henry Patterson and wife Ina James Patterson. His birth name was Percival Noel James Patterson. To describe P.J.'s personality and character is to say that he is slim in build, slow of speech, sharp with wit, and sure of words. This pretty much sums it up. Also, he speaks in measured tones, but prudently and perceptibly, never missing the essence of issues and never needing to apologize for statements. His education included attending Calabar High School, the University College of the West Indies, and London School of Economics in England. He was called to the bar at Middle Temple in 1963 and later that year admitted to the bar in Jamaica. Before he was called to the bar, though, he got married on August 24, 1960, to Shirley Field Ridley, who was from Guyana. They had two children together, Richard and Sharon. Shirley, his wife, sadly died in 1982. His long and distinguished political career stretches back formally to the year 1958 when he joined the People's National Party. His first cabinet post was that of Minister of Tourism, which was in 1972. He has since served as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. That was during the years 1978 to 1980. Again, P.J. Patterson served as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Development, Planning and Production during the years 1989 to 1990. Then his final role of being Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance and Planning during the period 1990 to 1991. After moving through several levels of the party, he finally became Jamaica's president in 1992. This is the same year he became the sixth Prime Minister of Jamaica and was conferred with the Order of the Nation. He would now be referred to as the Most Honorable Percival Noel James Patterson, ONOCC, PC, and QC. QC being Queen's Counsel.
The Minister of Justice refused to sign the extradition warrant for Mr. Presley Bigham.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Bruce Golding, Jamaica's eighth Prime Minister. Bruce Golding was born on December 5, 1947. His complete name is Orette Bruce Golding. His education started at Alpha Primary School between the years of 1955 and 1957 inclusive. He then went on to St. George's College between the years of 1958 and 1962, and at Jamaica College during the years 1963 to 1966. In 1966, he entered the University of the West Indies where he earned a BSc degree in economics in 1969. In that same year of 1969, he was elected to the Central Executive of the Jamaica Labour Party at the young age of 21 and was subsequently elected to Parliament in 1972 at the age of 24. He served as General Secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party from 1974 to 1984 and as Chairman from 1984 to 1995. He has had 19 years' experience as a Member of Parliament representing the constituencies of West St. Catherine and Central St. Catherine, as well as 9 years' experience as a Senator. He was appointed Minister of Construction in 1980, serving in that position until 1989, and in that capacity was elected Chairman of the United Nations Commission on Human Settlements for the period 1984 to 1985. He was the opposition spokesman on finance and Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee during the years of 1989. Lists like this is the second longest list I ever read for anybody with their accomplishment or their achievements. The longest one was Michael Leach, you can check out that video, but this one, trust me guys, that's something I would never expect. If you all didn't know all of this about Portia Simpson, let me know in the comment section down below. If you never know, please let me know, because I know a lot of people never know, because they don't have to say Portia down, so no. This Prime Minister has a distinguished record of service at the regional and international levels. She is a member of the Council of Women World Leaders, an international network of current and former women presidents and prime ministers whose mission is to mobilize on women's issues. Mistress Simpson Miller holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Public Administration, an honorary doctorate from the Union Institute and University in Florida, and has participated in the Leaders in Development Executive Program at the JFK School of Government, Harvard University. In March 2007, Mrs. Simpson Miller was awarded the International Olympic Committee's World Women and Sport Trophy for her outstanding dedication to women in Jamaican sports, both athletes and administrators. The leading architect of Jamaica Master Plan for Sustainable Tourism Development, Mr. Simpson Miller, has been tireless in promoting and strengthening urban renewal and community development, which have led to fundamental reforms in local government. As ex-Minister of Labour and Welfare, she presided over a significant expansion of Jamaica's overseas work program, and under her watch, the National Insurance Scheme was transformed into a major component of the government's social protection system. She was also instrumental in establishing a Labour chair in the University of the West Indies Department of Government. In 2009, she received the Distinguished Award for her dedication and commitment to urban renewal and community development from the Mayor of the City of Miami, and also the Bureau of Women's Affairs Award for the outstanding contribution to the advancement of women affairs in Jamaica. Portia Simpson Miller was also invited to sit on board of the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, UNITAR, and was presently a member of the board. With all her achievements, Portia Simpson Miller, or Mama P, as she is socially dubbed, is truly deserving of holding the title of being the first and only female Jamaican Prime Minister.
I look like a loser to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Andrew Holness, Jamaica's current Prime Minister. Andrew Holness took office as Jamaica's ninth Prime Minister on October 23, 2011. Following his endorsement as leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, the JLP, he succeeded the Most Honourable Orette Bruce Golding. He is Jamaica's youngest Prime Minister and the first Jamaican head of government to be born after the Jamaica. He is Jamaica's youngest Prime Minister and the first Jamaican head of government to be born after the country gained independence in 1962. He was also conferred with the Order of the Nation upon being sworn in as Prime Minister. His complete title is the Most Honourable Andrew Michael Holness, MP, and his first tenure of being Prime Minister was a short one. To be more precise, it was from October 23, 2011 to December 28, 2011. However, he returned to office on March 3, 2016 following the 2016 general elections. Prime Minister Holness has described himself as a libertarian on the social side and fiscal conservative on the economic side, and has expressed commitment to promoting and protecting human rights. As a transformational leader, Prime Minister Andrew Holness believes the political arena should give room to all people to participate provided that they meet certain standards. As an economic conservative, he has committed to prudence in government spending, fiscal discipline, and debt management. On the social side, he believes education must be one of the most critical ingredients of national development. Born to working-class parents in Spanish Town, the capital of St. Catherine, Mr. Holness is the son of a civil servant, Mistress Carol Harvey Williams, and farmer Morris Holness. He attended the St. Catherine High School, where he was both head boy and a valedictorian. He attended the St. Catherine High School, where he was both head boy and a valedictorian. He is also a graduate of the University of the West Indies, where he obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in Management Studies and a Master of Science degree in Development Studies. Mr. Holness served as Executive Director in the Voluntary Organization for the Upliftment of Children, VOUCH, from 1994 to 1996, and then joined the Premium Group of Companies, where he was Special Assistant to former Prime Minister, Most Honourable Edward Seaga. In 1997, he became Member of Parliament for West Central St. Andrew and served as Opposition Spokesperson on Land and Development from 1999 to 2002. In 2002, he shadowed the portfolio of Housing and then Education in 2005. He was sworn in as Minister of Education in September 2007 following the victory of Jamaica Labour Party in the general election that year. As Prime Minister, he then chose to retain the education portfolio. Prime Minister Holness has 2 sisters and 3 brothers. He is a Seventh-day Adventist by faith. He is married to Juliet Holness, who is a chartered accountant and a businesswoman, and they have 2 sons, Adam and Matthew. Who really was Nanny of the Maroons? What was her birth name? Who was her husband? Did she have children? These are the questions I will be answering in this short documentary, so we can have a better understanding of the person celebrated as the national heroine of Jamaica. But before we move on to Queen Nanny's name and family history, let's talk about the depiction of Nanny on the $500 note. Now, due to the fact that we do not have a physical depiction of Nanny of the Maroons, many of you may have wondered how the image on the Jamaican $500 note came about. So let me shed some light on this quickly. When Nanny was named a national hero in 1975, there were no records of how she actually looked. And up to this day, uncertainty still surrounds Nanny's image. However, it is documented that she was a small, wiry woman with piercing eyes. Claude Gale, then a young scholar of the Jamaica School of Art, responded to a request from Principal Jerry Craig for students to conceptualize a representation of Nanny. They were to draw on their own knowledge of history to influence their work, and that was all the instructions given. The lady whose image has been used to represent Nanny is actually a St. Elizabeth resident, living around 25 minutes from a compound. A quietly unsung hero, as teachers are, she helped, guided, and mentored scores of people who have made a mark on the parish, nation, region, and the world during the years she taught there. In case you missed it, Olive Bowen, back then a student of the Jamaica School of Art, now Edna Manley College, was the model chosen by her fellow undergraduate as they competed to produce the best image to capture Queen Nanny's essence. The young art student, Claude Gale, received a token of $30 Jamaican for his efforts. And that winning drawing came to be accepted as Nanny, Queen of the Maroons. A copy of the original with the scribbling "winner" in one corner still remains in Gale's possession. Then, in 1994, with increasing devaluation, came the $500 note with Nanny's head-wrapped image. While Gale's representation of Nanny varies slightly from that on the currency, it is his drawing commissioned by the Agency for Public Information, or API, that formed an inspiration. So did you know that about the $500 note? Let me know in the comment section below. And as we delve deeper into Queen Nanny's remarkable journey, let's not just be passive listeners, but active participants in honoring her legacy. Share this video with friends and family to spread awareness about Jamaica's national heroine and the rich history of the Maroons. Remember to hit the like button if you are finding this content enlightening, and subscribe for more insightful historical narratives. Your engagement and support are vital in preserving the celebrating of the stories of those who have shaped our world. So, who really was Nanny? Queen Nanny, or Grande Nanny, was the daughter of Prince Naquan, an Asante prince from southern Ghana. Prince Naquan came to Jamaica in 1642 as part of a business excursion with Spanish merchants. However, he was double-crossed, and he and his men were sold into slavery by the same merchants. A few months later, however, he managed to escape with 600 of his men and found refuge in the Blue Mountains, where they met the existing Taino Maroons who had escaped to the hills from the time of Christopher Columbus. Now, Queen Nanny was born free in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica in 1686. Let me repeat that. Queen Nanny was born free in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica in 1686. I have not been able, however, to verify the exact date. Although there were a number of Taino, Carib, and Spanish Maroons, the Coromantee population was dominant in the Maroons, so Nanny grew up in a large Akan community that was recreated in Jamaica. And remember her father, Prince Naquan? Well, he was now referred to as King Naquan, and he ensured his kids grew up the Akan way. Queen Nanny had 7 brothers and possibly 1 sister named Sikasu. Her brothers were Kojo, Akompong, Johnny, Kofi, Kwaho, Kwashi, and Kwako. While I can't verify what order she was born, scholars believe she was either born 3rd after Kojo and Akompong or 5th before Kwashi and Kwako. Many people still believe that Maroon means runaway slave, but that's not true, because many Maroons were born as free people in the mountains of Jamaica, such as Queen Nanny. The word Maroon is an English corruption of the word Morano, which is a derogatory Spanish-Portuguese term for Israelites, calling them pigs. And this can be found in a book called The Analytical Review of Our History of Literature, Domestic and Foreign. Queen Nanny's birth name was not well known, as she was born in the mountains. However, some Maroon sources claim that her name was Abena Pokwa, spelled Abenapokua, which could be true, as it is a popular name up to this day in Ghana, and also I find more historical records referring to that name. But according to another Maroon source, Nanny's name is also Sarah Matilda Rowe, but this is not verified. However, some of the Rowe family in Jamaica claim to be direct descendants of Queen Nanny. According to oral history, her second husband was named Supplemento, spelled Swipplemento, later known by the anglicized name of Rose Harris, and affectionately called Parose, then Paro. Queen Nanny was called Shanty Rose or Maro. Oral tradition says the Ro was then anglicized to Ro, that's R-O was then anglicized to R-O-W-E, although we know that many late 18th century Maroons changed their names to European ones or were converted to Christianity. Queen Nanny had 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl. She had one boy named Kwashkwaku, spelled Kwashkwaku, for her first husband, a Maroon man named Adu, spelled Adou. Her children with Supplemento are 2 sons named Kojo and Akompong, who she named after her brothers, and a daughter who she named after herself, Nanny. Queen Nanny's military tactics. The Windward Maroons succeeded against a much superior and better armed enemy, the British. One of their advantages was their long-range communications capability, using what they called an abeng. The abeng was a crucial communication tool used by the Maroons, including Queen Nanny, during their resistance against the British in Jamaica. It was a cow horn with a hole drilled in one end, allowing for a long-range communication across rugged terrain. Maroon lookouts would blow specific signals through the abeng, which were understood by their fellow Maroons but not by the British forces. These signals served various purposes, such as alerting the community to potential threats, coordinating movements during battles, or signaling the arrival of allies or messengers. The abeng played a vital role in the Maroon warfare, providing them with a strategic advantage by enabling swift, efficient communication over considerable distances, contributing to their successful resistance efforts. Nanny's troops were also masters of camouflage. The soldiers were so proficient at disguising their location that the British would circulate tales of trees in the forest becoming alive and cutting one's head off. Besides the physical aspects of camouflage, the Maroons became experts in slowing their breathing so as not to reveal their presence to someone in their vicinity. They also developed ways of creating stealthy fires that were not readily visible. The Maroons were the innovators of guerrilla warfare. They used surprise, the knowledge of the terrain, and the cleverly chosen positions in their fight against the British. Their village was located in rugged territory, with only one way in. That one way in was a narrow path that was only wide enough for one person. Soldiers trying to attack arrayed in a single file were easily ambushed. To heighten the enemy's fear, Nanny's forces never killed all of the attacking forces. She would always allow a soldier to live to return to base to relay the story and horror of the encounter. When the British signed a treaty with Kojo in 1739, this success allowed them to offer a less favorable treaty to the Windward Maroons. Representatives of the British governor in Jamaica signed a treaty with the Windward Maroons in 1740. Between the colonial authorities and Kwao, who later became one of the leaders of Crawford Town, this treaty between the colonial authorities and Kwao's Maroons made no mention of how much land would be allocated to Crawford's Town. As a result, a number of disputes occurred between planters and the Maroons of Crawford's Town, and later the succeeding towns of Charlestown in Scotsall. In response, the Assembly of Jamaica had to resolve the land disputes in favor of the Maroons in order to keep the peace. In addition, later that year, there was a separate land grant signed with Nanny and the Maroons of Nanny Town, which granted Nanny and the people now residing with her and their heirs a certain parcel of land containing 500 acres in the parish of Portland. This land patent consisted of 500 acres, 2.4 kilometers squared, of land granted by the government to the Maroons of the new Nanny town under a separate 1740 document ending the First Maroon War. The rebuilt Nanny town, later called the Moore town, was built on that location. In 1781, the Assembly agreed to purchase another additional 500 acres from neighboring planter Charles Douglas to increase Mooretown's communal land to 1,000 acres. The new Nanny Town Maroons, like those of Kojo and Kwao on the western side of the island, agreed not to harbor new runaway slaves, but to help catch them for bounties. They were also expected to fight for the British in the case of an attack from the French or Spanish. In signing treaties with the Maroons, the British not only made a truce with a troublesome foe, but also enlisted that foe in capturing runaway slaves. The colonial authorities initially recognized two Maroon towns, Crawfordstown and Kojo Town, later to be renamed Trelawney Town. Eventually, there were 5 Maroon towns in the 18th century: a compound town, Trelawney Town, Charlestown, Scotsall, and Nanny Town, later called Moore Town, living under their own chiefs with a British supervisor in each town. In the Journal of the Assembly of Jamaica for March 29 to 30, 1733, there is a citation for resolution, bravery, and fidelity awarded to loyal slaves under the command of Captain Sambo, namely William Coffey, who was awarded to have fought the Maroons in the First Maroon War and is called, quote, a very good party Negro, having killed Nanny, the rebels' old witch, end quote. But I don't think that's possible, because there is evidence that Mooretown was granted to the Maroons under her leadership in 1740, so she couldn't dead in 1733. Some scholars claim that Queen Nanny lived to be very old, dying of natural causes in the 1760s. That exact date remains a mystery. Another element of confusion is that many high-ranking women in Mooretown were called Nanny. However, the Maroons are sticking to their guns that it was only one Queen Nanny. According to Maroon oral history though, the remains of Queen Nanny were laid to rest at a place called Bumpgrave in Mooretown in the parish of Portland. Queen Nanny of the Maroons left behind a lasting legacy that continues to resonate in Jamaican history and culture. Her fearless leadership and strategic military tactics not only secured freedom for her people, but also inspired future generations to stand against oppression and fight for justice. As Jamaica's only female national hero, Queen Nanny symbolizes strength, resilience, and the power of unity. Her legacy extends beyond the Maroon communities, influencing various aspects of Jamaican society, including art, literature, and music. Through educational initiatives and commemorations, Queen Nanny's legacy is preserved and celebrated, ensuring that her remarkable achievements and contributions to the island's history are never forgotten. I hope you learned something from this short documentary, and I would really appreciate you sharing the video as well, because the educational system in Jamaica does not really teach the real history of the island. If you're interested in seeing more historical content, please subscribe, and thank you for watching. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Blessings and welcome. This video is about the national heroes of Jamaica. Hey, YouTube say when you start the video, you have to make sure you say the keywords for the video get ranked. So I'm going to say National Heroes of Jamaica, National Heroes of Jamaica, National Heroes of Jamaica, National Heroes of Jamaica.
Turn that thing off! It is too late and it's too loud! You are wasting your time with this garbage, now go to bed!
This video is about the National Heroes of Jamaica. Why I'm doing this video like this, guys, as you notice, I'm having scripting on my hand, yeah? You see, you all see the videos on YouTube, them look good, well put together and all of that. But when you see that the amount of work that goes in to do the research, make sure the sources are correct, and sometimes the information hard to find. And you know, Jamaica is a place where I really have a lot of information on the net, so sometimes I have to go back to the books. Alright? I have to go to the library too. So what I do, I get the information together, send it to Chin Chin in the UK. Chin Chin, I'm a friend with you. Like, she do the script them for me. Shout out to Chin Chin in the UK. Blessings, you have been doing a really great job. When I send all of the information to her, she send back a script. Yeah? So I'm love the script. Alright? Normally, I'll proofread the script, go through, make the necessary changes and all of that. Having on my head the idea as to the video, what me have to create and how me have to format it. However, it really takes a lot of time. So in order to get these videos out, I've decided to use this format. I don't know what I'm doing, I swear I don't know what I'm doing. But I decided to use that format here. And yeah, hopefully you guys like this format. I know say the camera there, the color kind of different from the one. Alright. So yeah, so this are the mic guys. The laptop, I'm not really use the laptop tonight. The script is on the laptop just in case. It's up on the paper. Alright, so yeah man, shout out to Chucky there. Yes, yeah. Yeah man. Is it? So guys, yeah. Make us see it. I've never read this script before guys. So I don't know, I think now I'm going to make fun with it because I make a lot of mistakes. Gonna help me out.
No! God,
right?
please, no!
In search of a national identity, Jamaica discovered and enshrined its heroes, and in process rewrite the British historical records, which chronicled some great native sons as traitors. The government has reserved the government. Let's see. Alright. In search of a national identity, Jamaica discovered and enshrined its heroes, and in that process, rewrite the British historical records, which chronicled some great native sons as traitors. The government has reserved the title of Right Excellent for those exalted to the status of national heroes. In this video, we will take a look at the life and times of the national heroes of Jamaica. Alexander Bustamante. Alexander Bustamante was born William Alexander Clark in Blenheim, Hanover, on February 24, 1884. His parents were Robert Clark, an Irish descendant. Chin chin. Alexander Bustamante. Alexander Bustamante was born William Alexander Clark in Blenheim, Hanover, on February 24, 1884. His parents were Robert Clark, an Irish descendant and a bookkeeper, and Mary Clark, née Wilson, a small farmer. Née Wilson means Wilson was her name before she actually married name Clark. Alright? Poverty ruled out any significant schooling for the young William Alexander Clark, Bustamante. Very early, after completing primary school at Capone, William started to work as a clerk under Alexander James. That's the grandfather of P.J. Patterson, Percival James Patterson, a former Prime Minister of Jamaica. Alright? In 1905, William traveled across Latin America and the Mediterranean. This was the beginning of a trade union involvement. On his return to Jamaica in 1934, he had a new name, Alejandro Bustamante. Chucky, you know, so today when I read this, I show you that. Yeah, but alright. Because see where I go on, because I'm thinking to change the name after still now. That name, however, was changed in 1944 to Alexander Bustamante by way of deed poll, you see it. Between 1934 and 1938, Sir Alexander Bustamante swamped the press with letters denouncing the social conditions of Jamaica and demanded a better deal for the poor and underprivileged people. In 1937, he became treasurer of the Jamaica Workers and Tradesmen Union, led by future legislator Alan George St. Claver Holmes. So guys, please never even watch the whole of the video. I know it have a long, but yeah. And remember, check out the Patreon peeps. Videos already uploaded on the Patreon. I think 2 videos are on the Patreon. Check out the Patreon. Links will be in the description. In 1938, there were stages of unrest in Kingston as angry workers who supported Bustamante's ideology took various strike action. These incidents culminated into Bustamante being refused permission to stage meetings in Kingston on May 24th. Later that afternoon, he and Sir William Grant were arrested and charged with inciting the people to unlawful assembly. They were sent to jail without bail, and a state of emergency was declared by the governor. Man, lock them up and declare state of emergency, no bail. Yeah. On September 8, 1940, Bustamante entered the detention camp where he spent the next 17 months. On his release, he resumed full control of his union and continued to organize labor. On July 8, 1943, he launched the Jamaica Labour Party, that's the JLP, while holding a meeting at the White Theatre in Kingston. It's done. Shortly after the passage of universal adult suffrage in May 1944, here on by them, loading up. Shortly after the passage of universal adult suffrage in May 1944, Bustamante took the young JLP to the general elections where the party won 22 of the 32 seats. In 1949, Governor Sir Hugh Foote put forward proposals which meant slight advances in self-rule. Bustamante accepted these proposals. The JLP won the elections of that year for the second time. By 1953, Bustamante was named Chief Minister and Jamaica's first Prime Minister in 1962. He retired from active politics in 1967 and died on August 6, 1977 at the age of 93. Condolences to the family of Sir Alexander Bustamante. Next we take a look at George William Gordon. The Right Excellent George William Gordon was born near Mavis Bank in 1820. Mavis Bank are up St. Thomas on the border of St. Thomas and St. Andrew in the east. He was born in Mavis Bank in 1820. To Joseph Gordon, a Scottish planter and a slave woman. Guys, I know a lot of you don't like when we mention the word slave, but it's the correct term, alright? Joseph Gordon saw that his son had special characteristics from an early age. He decided to take an interest in his son's education. George went to live with his godfather, James Daly, in Black River, and there he completed his education. George was mostly self-educated. George William Gordon was a landowner, shopkeeper, produce dealer, preacher, politician, social worker, and philanthropist. He started out as an Anglican, but changed to the Baptist faith, having been baptized into the Baptist Society by Reverend J.M. Philippo, founder of Jamaica's first free village. He later became a leader of the Native Baptist movement and began building several churches at his own expense. He became an ordained minister and was an active evangelist. In 1843, at the age of 23, Gordon was elected to the House of Assembly for St. Thomas, but his public life did not begin until around the year 1844, when he entered politics as an advocate for the poverty-stricken Negro peasants on the island. In 1865, when the economic conditions of Jamaica were at a new low, Gordon spoke openly on behalf of poor Negroes with bitter criticism of the Lieutenant Governor Edward Eyre. Some people call him Eyre, E-Y-R-E. It's gonna be on screen, guys. During this period of oppression of the Negro population, Paul Bogle was active in revolting against the system of government. On October 11, Bogle, along with around 300 men, marched in Morant Bay, where On October 11, Bogle, along with about 300 men, marched in Morant Bay, where the town council was in session. There they raided a police station for arms and then set the courthouse on fire. The Custos, Baron von Kettle Ott, and 15 vestrymen were killed. It was this incident that a warrant for Gordon's arrest was issued. Gordon, having heard that a summons was out for his arrest, turned himself into Governor Eyre. On October 21, 1865, Gordon was sentenced to death. And on October 27, 1960, the Jamaican Parliament named the building where parliamentary meetings were to be held in honor of Gordon. The building was named the George William Gordon House, often called Gordon House for short. After independence, Gordon was given the nation's highest honor, the Order of National Hero. Condolences to the family of George William Gordon. May his memories live on. Next we take a look at Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Marcus Garvey was the last of 11 children. He was born in St. Anne's Bay on August 17, 1887. He is said to have been a descendant of the Maroons. In his youth, Garvey moved to Kingston, where he worked at the government printing office. He resigned this job in 1910 to publish a small newspaper called The Watchman. This was regarded as a turning point in his career. In 1914, he started the United Negro Improvement Association, that's the UNIA. The UNIA encouraged self-government for black people worldwide. self-help and economic projects alongside protests against racial discrimination and cultural activities ensued. In 1916, Garvey departed for the United States, where he preached his doctrine of freedom to the oppressed blacks. He visited 38 states in 1 year, and within only a few months, there were more than 30 branches of the UNIA across the United States. Other branches existed in Africa and the West Indies. By 1921, Garvey was the leader of the largest black organization in history, which at its height had between 6 and 11 million followers. At that time, there were 859 branches of the UNIA in over 30 countries. Between 1922 and 1927, Garvey's life had taken a turn. In 1922, he ran into financial difficulties and was charged with fraud. He denied the charges but was found guilty and fined $1,000 and sentenced to 5 years in jail. During his incarceration, his wife Amy Jakes took on his work, continuing the work of the UNIA. In 1925, Garvey appealed the verdict of his incarceration, but his appeal was dismissed. Imprisoned for nearly 3 years in Atlanta, he was subsequently deported to Jamaica. Back in Jamaica, Garvey continued to hold public meetings and other cultural activities. Back in Jamaica, Garvey continued to hold public meetings and other cultural activities in Edelweiss Park. But changes did not come easily, and he left for England in 1935. There he remained active until January 1940 when he suffered a stroke. After suffering a second stroke, he died in June 1940. I know that here, I know some years to Marcus Garvey there. The guys now doing a video about the life and death of Marcus Garvey. He was embalmed and buried in the Kendall Green Cemetery in London. In 1964, his body was exhumed and brought home to Jamaica. His remains were interred in the National Heroes Park in Kingston. Finally, Marcus Mosiah Garvey became Jamaica's first national hero and was recognized as the first black man to awaken the dignity of the black race in Jamaica, North America, and Africa. Condolences to the family of Marcus Garvey, if none of them live alive. Next we take a look at Nanny of the Maroons. It is not certain whether Nanny was born in Jamaica or in Africa. She was of Ashanti origin and was the sister of Kojo, the leader of the Trelawney Town Maroons and Qua. Nanny was not a slave. She was married but had no children. Her full responsibilities were the welfare of women and children in the community. Even the king had to call upon her for advice, especially those relating to women. Nanny, the spiritual leader of the Windward Maroons at Nanny Town, Portland, was known as an outstanding military leader. In her lifetime and thereafter, she was seen as a symbol of unity and strength during times of crisis. It is believed that Nanny died in the 1750s. Her remains were put to rest at Bump Grave in Moortown in Portland.
Had just been discovered, and he didn't want the small islands to be dictating how it was to be developed.
Norman Manley was born at Roxborough, Manchester on July 4, 1893 to Thomas Albert Samuel Manley, a planter and producer, and Margaret Ann Shearer, a small... Guys, what is a pen keeper? I never see that word there yet. I'm not go for the dictionary now, it's big and heavy. Norman Manley was born at Roxborough, Manchester on July 4, 1893 to Thomas Albert Samuel Manley, a planter and a producer, and Margaret Ann Shearer, a small pen keeper from Blenheim, Hanover. Manley was one of 4 children. He had 2 sisters, Vera and Muriel, and 1 brother, Roy, who was killed in the First World War. At age 6, his father died, leaving the family with limited resources. His mother then moved to Belmont in St. Catherine. Manley was a brilliant scholar. He was also an athlete, a soldier in World War I, and a lawyer. In September 1938, he founded the People's National Party and was elected president until his retirement 31 years later. As chief minister and later premier, the country moved rapidly towards internal self-government in July 1959 and independence in August 1962. Manley died on September 2, 1969 at the age of 76. Guys, why this entry and some of these entries are short is because I did the video yesterday about the prime ministers of Jamaica. We have some heroes who are actually prime ministers, so you check out that video there. It are there. Where it are there? It are there up there, so look right up my corner. I'll see it. Check out that video there to get all of the information about Norman Manley and Bustamante and them people that was prime ministers. Alright?
Isn't that down there? Yes, that is the Paul Bogle. All right, so we'll get in there now. Come on, fellas.
Bogle is not awed by wealth or privilege. In him, the people of St. Thomas find a man who was sprung from the same grassroots as themselves, but who is greater in spirit than any of them.
It is believed that Paul Bogle was born free about 1822. He was a firm political adherent of George William Gordon, who made him a deacon. Bogle lived in Stonygut, but also had another house in Spring Garden, that's in St. Thomas. He was not a poor man by any means. He was the owner of 500 acres of land at Dunrobin. In 1865, the economic situation of Jamaica took a turn for the worse. There were increases in unemployment and taxes with a reduction in wages. Gordon had appointed Bogle, the leader of a group he had chosen, to take their complaints to the governor. Bogle, with the support of his brother Moses, was holding private meetings without Gordon's knowledge. He and Moses, along with 200 men, marched to Morant Bay to watch a trial at the courthouse. A man shouted out to the court and the police tried to arrest him. I don't understand this. Chin-chin ain't easy, you know. A man shouted to the court and the police tried to arrest him. Bogle and his men saved the man from the police and they made good their escape. The following day in Stonygut, they heard that a warrant for the arrest of 28 of them had been issued. The police tried to arrest Paul Bogle but failed as his followers fought them off. On Wednesday, October 11th, Bogle and around... I see him something here again, I'm tie up my tongue. On Wednesday, October 11, Bogle and about 300 men marched to the Morant Bay courthouse, where they raided the police station and took some old guns. The men marched to the courthouse where the Custos was having a meeting. They killed the Custos, Baron van Kettelhut, and 15 vestrymen and set 51 prisoners free. The parish was put under martial law on October the 13th, and General Forbes Jackson was dispatched from Kingston with orders to crush the rebellion. The soldiers killed hundreds of innocent people. Others were beaten, shot, and hanged. Stonygut was burnt to the ground. Bogle and his men, however, had already fled to the bushes, but they were hunted throughout the day by the Maroons and the soldiers. A bounty of $400 reward was put up for Bogle's capture. He was eventually captured by the Portland Maroons on the same day that George William Gordon was brutally hanged. So the same day them capture Paul Bogle, Chucky, and the same day George William Gordon get hanged. And them think they always got away this still, you know. Wicked people them here. Yeah man. Them are like, you stand up for your nation and them try to fight you. And so it always go from the 1800s, the 1700s and come right up.
He tells them that he is not going with them, and they try to arrest him.
Hey, Grant!
For a crime of treason and instigating the Christmas rebellion, Samuel Sharpe sentenced to hang by the neck unto death. I would rather die among yonder gallows than live in slavery. If I have kill one of them boy and show them some on the ramping up at that.
Born in 1801 in Montego Bay, Samuel Sharpe grew up as a house slave. Unlike many slaves, he was literate, having been educated by his master, who was also named Samuel Sharpe. His master treated him very well and allowed him certain privileges. He thus became his master's right-hand man. And you know, back in the days in a slavery, them always named them slave after them. You understand, so? That's why Samuel Sharpe get the name Samuel Sharpe. Samuel Sharpe had special responsibilities, one of which was to take the job in slaves, those hired out as hired workers, to their place of work. While carrying out his daily duties, he became disgruntled with the way in which slaves were treated. For God's sake, man. Jesus Christ. I swear upon Selassie I big two if one more bike pass me, just I walk left this and just no matter, you know. Samuel Sharpe had special responsibilities, one of which was to take the jobbing of slaves, those hired out as hired workers, to their place of work. While carrying out his daily duties, however, he became disgruntled with the way in which slaves were treated, so he himself included. He wanted to be free. Sam Sharpe was the main instigator of the slave rebellion that began on the Kensington estate in St. James. As a result, he was executed in the Montego Bay marketplace on May 23, 1832. It was this rebellion that led to the abolition of slavery in Jamaica. Sam Sharpe was buried in the sands of the Montego Bay Harbor. His remains were later exhumed and interred beneath the pulpit at Birchell Baptist Church.
Jamaica. Don't forget to drop a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe.